going on, guys? It's raining out, so you know what that means? Nature's doing a water change. Yep. So stand by, we're going to do a little discussion on water changes. Hey guys, what's going on? So it's raining out today, so I figured it'd be a good opportunity to get a video done. Been kind of a busy summer, you know, just getting stuff dialed in on the ponds. My old pond, it's pretty much self-sufficient at this point. The new pond, after I got the filter fixed, everything's been going good. Got the Baki shower in, my parameters are coming to be right on. My pH is balancing out in that 7.4 range, so everything's going good there. What I want to discuss today, and we're gonna do a few parts, because it could get to be a pretty lengthy conversation. So we're gonna do a few parts. It'll probably be at least 4 parts. We're gonna do the first part today, and we're gonna do, as you can tell by the intro, why water changes. The reason I bring that up is I'm almost shocked or surprised to an extent on how many people in the fish hobby, whether it be aquariums or ponds, don't understand what water changes are, or don't know what water changes are. Forums and Facebook groups, even to some extent YouTube videos, when you bring up doing a water change, they seem surprised. They seem lost or confused. So in the first part of this video, we're just going to talk the basics and what a water change is, and the basics of what a water change does. And in the second part, we're going to break it down and become a little more in depth with it. And in the third part, we're going to talk about the parameter aspect of what water changes can do. So I'm going to start it off basics of what is a water change. Well, it's taking out a portion of the water from your pond or your aquarium and replacing it with fresh water. Now obviously when you replace with the fresh water, you need to treat what water you're adding with a water conditioner, so no chlorine or chloramines getting in there, because that's very toxic to the fish and other aquatic life. So as I showed you in the beginning of the video, it's raining. Well, that's kind of nature's water change, because as it rains, it fills up creeks and rivers, which fill up lakes, which push excess water out into flatlands or floodlands, whatever you'd like to call it. Also, water flows through the ground and gets filtered by the dirt, and when it gets into the groundwater system, etc., etc. But when we have floods, if you just think of floods, the banks of the river get overflowed, and all this water is rushing through a river or a creek. Well, it's flushing that stuff out, and then it gets deposited up on the land during the flood time, and when the water recedes back to its normal level, all of that debris and stuff is left up on the land to decompose and finish its part in the nitrogen cycle. So in the captive world with aquariums or ponds, the amount of water that we have to fish ratio, as in how many fish we have in it, is heavily overloaded compared to in nature. We've got billions and billions of gallons of water in the world with the oceans, rivers, lakes, etc. So there's, in nature, this is a guess because I really don't have any idea, but in nature, each fish probably has thousands of gallons to itself. And in the koi world, you want to typically have 250 gallons per koi. In the fish world, there's a bunch of other different equations, if you will, on how many fish you should have in a fish tank. But that's all, what's the word I'm looking for? It's all up for discussion. Everybody's got their own ideas on that. So if you look at it in that aspect, the amount of water we have is just, it's minute compared to the amount of water that's on the earth. So that water becomes toxic or dirty very quickly. There's not the constant flow of the rivers, there's not the constant flow of streams constantly getting fed by new water from rain, etc., etc. So again, as I was saying, in the captive world, you doing a water change is replicating that process in nature. You're getting rid of some of the old water, adding new water. You don't ever do the whole thing at once, obviously, because then you're throwing your parameters off. But more into that later in like the second or third part of the video. And the way to look at it as well is, as all these toxins are building up in the water, when you do a water change, just like flushing the toilet. When you go to the bathroom, you don't just let the waste sit in the toilet forever. No, you flush it. It gets rid of it, takes all that stuff away, and it refills your toilet with fresh water. And that's basically the same concept as doing a water change in your ponds or aquariums. Obviously, the frequency of when you should do a water change depends on your stocking level. The more fish you have, the more you should be doing water changes. We'll get more into that in the second part of the video. Another thing is how frequent you should be doing it is how much you should be doing each time. In my opinion, and I do think, there probably is some evidence to support this, more frequent, smaller amount water changes are better than doing one big 30% water change. The calculation, you want 10 to 20% every couple weeks of the water being changed out to maintain healthy water conditions. Another thing that goes into how often you need to change your water is how often you feed and how much you feed. Also, water temperature. Water temperature plays a huge role in how often and how much you should be changing your water. And then the last thing you want to watch is the fish behavior. Now, again, in part 2, we will dig into all of these things a lot deeper. But I just wanted to get a basic little video out and just say, yes, water changes are a part of the hobby. They are a must in the hobby. You have to perform water changes. They are vital to having a successful aquarium or pond. And again, there's multiple reasons why. And like I said, we'll get into all that stuff in part 2. But again, I think I'm going to have a little 3 or 4 part series on this. I'm trying to put one up every week. I might do one more frequently. But again, just basically, yes, you need to change your water. The amount and the frequency of the water changes depends on your stocking level, how often you're feeding, water temperature, and the behavior of your fish. Okay? And yes, your parameters. But the feeding and the water temperature and the stocking levels all affect your parameters as well. So that's why we'll get into that in the second part. So that's about all I got for this video. Like I said, very simple, basic introduction to water changes and why we do them. Part 2 is going to be more in-depth on what other factors you need to look at when doing water changes. So as always, guys, if you have any questions or any comments, please feel free to post them. And like I said, I'll try to get the next video out. Got a long weekend, maybe I'll do another one within the next couple days. But I'll try to get the next video out for sure by next weekend. And as always, keep on improving, keep on investing. We'll see you guys on the next video. Later.